What is going on, guys? We're going to wrap up our series of going over the demands of Black Lives Matter. We're finally going to finish it. Sorry it took so long, but you know how it be with quarantine and race riots and seemingly the end of the world. It was Apocalypse Light. It was the lamest near apocalypse. So let's wrap this up. We have 4 more minutes in Sargon's video. One of the last topics they talked about is reparations. Now, they talked about this a lot in Democratic primaries, if you guys remember that. Almost all the candidates that I can think of, I don't remember anyone that specifically said we're not going to give them reparations. If they did, then I missed that. So my bad if that. But all of the mainstream ones like Warren, Harris, Biden, Sanders, they all said they were for reparations. If I remember correctly, that was several months ago before Corona Apocalypse Light. So my memory may be shaky. But they've been calling for this since 2016, and I think before that too. I think I first started hearing it in 2015, so that's half a decade ago. People have been asking for reparations. What's funny is that they only want reparations one way. If we want to ask black people for reparations based on all of the violence and crime and destruction and everything, just let's just talk about the race riots since George Floyd, since May. Like that's billions of dollars in damage. Are you guys going to pay us back for that? Because it's tax money that restores that. It's tax money being wasted in fixing all this stuff. It's tax money paying the police to combat these race riots when they are allowed to, instead of just being forced to sit on the sidelines. But that's a topic for another time. We can't ramble on off topic here, can we? So if we did a huge chart, what reminds me of? This reminds me of the episode in That 70s Show when Jackie sold not Hyde, Kelso's van. So then Kelso wanted the money back. So they're like, okay, well, let's just do all of the damages in the relationship, all the stuff that Jackie owes Kelso and all the stuff that Kelso owes Jackie. And at first, Jackie owed Kelso a lot of money because she sold his van without him wanting to. But then once they went through all of the crap that he did to her, he ended up owing her like hundreds of dollars. So he's like, nah, never mind, it's fine. And so that's the best parallel I can put with this. It's the black people are Kelso and we're Jackie, so then they want reparations for colonialism, for slavery, through food and housing redlining, mass incarceration, and surveillance. But once we ask for reparations for all the crap they've done to us, they're going to owe us a fuck ton more money. So I think it's really funny that they only want it one way. It's like, really, you want reparations based off the harm you've inflicted on black people? Well, man, that's just so coincidental because if we did reparations based off the harm you inflict on white people, that's way more, man, dog. It's way, but it's not even close to what we supposedly owe you. But look how this is very interesting. Colonialism, slavery, food and housing redlining. Okay, I don't even know what food redlining is, so that's retarded. But colonialism ended hundreds of years ago. Slavery ended hundreds of years ago. Redlining, I believe, ended in the 60s. Don't quote me on that because I think it's like 60s or 70s. Regardless, it's been like 40 or 50 fucking years since these policies have been enacted and they want reparations for it. It's like, it's done. It's over. Mass incarceration surveillance, that happens to all Americans. We have a mass incarceration state. We have a police state in this country with mass incarceration. And there are a fuck ton of non-black people there too. It's not, they act like they're the only people who suffer from mass incarceration and surveillance. You guys aren't. Look at the prison population. It's flat out, you're not. Furthermore, they act like they're the only ones that suffer from colonialism and slavery. Every single race has been colonialized or put in slavery and has also done that to every other race too. Like, these people have not studied history at all. They act like white people, or America specifically, is the only country that has had colonies or has had slavery. Newsflash, Africa has had a fuck ton of colonial, let's rephrase that. There are a fuck ton of African nations that have colonized other regions of Africa or other regions of the world. There are a fuck ton of nations in Asia who have colonized all over the world. This goes everywhere. Like every single thing you can think of that has happened when it comes to colonialism. And they act like it all goes one way. It's just white people against black people. That's it. Slavery. Oh, it's not that Asians have owned European slaves and African slaves and white slaves. And it's not like Africans have had white slaves and Asian slaves. It's not like South Americans have had white slaves and black slaves. It's just white people have had black slaves. That's it. That's the only thing. So fucking ignorant of history. It's just it blows my mind that these people are that ignorant of history. Like, on a side note, can I have a side note here? I think I deserve a side note. People constantly bash the public school system, and while it has a fuck ton of problems that again outside the scope of this video, I was in public schools and we were taught about slavery all over the world. They did not teach us, oh, only white people had slaves and only black people were suffered slavery. We learned about slavery from all over the world. This is in the public school system in a Democratic county. Like I just don't understand. Like, where the fuck did they get this information from? Now I know they don't teach that. Oh no, they changed the curriculum since I was been in school. No, I know they changed it a lot, but back then, which wasn't too long ago, we learned about all this stuff. We learned about Africans enslaving white people. We learned about Asians enslaving Africans. We just all over it. It happened all the time. Okay, we spent a lot of time on that first one. Let's try to make this concise here. So we have denied access to high quality education opportunities for Black people, including man, I can talk, undocumented people. So if we don't give free access and open admissions to all these things they're mentioning to undocumented people, that means we're racist. If we don't give Black people, just Black people, by the way, this is the apartheid system I'm talking about. If you have a section of people that are just given lifetime education, free and open admission to anywhere they want to go, but other races can't do that, in tandem with everything else that they're asking for, how is that not an apartheid system? If Black people get free housing, free jobs, free healthcare, free education, free all the things we've been talking about in these videos, but other races don't, how is that not an apartheid system? If they are let off the hook for all these crimes because they want the crime stats to equal out, otherwise it's racist, so they just let a bunch of Black people off the hook for all these violent crime, and they arrest every single white person that they can find to balance out the stats so it's even, so it's fair, or whatever. How is that not an apartheid state? Like, just, and think, oh, that's an exaggeration, that's South Africa. That's what they want it to be. And look at it, what of a shithole is now. A guaranteed minimal livable income. So not only are you going, what's, oh my God, there's just so much wrong with this, I can barely talk. If you are guaranteed a job and you're guaranteed an income, why would you give a damn about anything you do at that job? Why would you care if you even remotely do a good job? We already see this in jobs where they are protected by unions, teachers, for example, metro employees. I don't know, like just go through anything you can see with a giant union backing them. These people know they cannot get fired for, they have to like kill someone or like steal money. Actually, even then, they're not fired. They have to like sexually assault someone. Actually, even then, they're not even left. So unless they like murder someone, they are guaranteed their job for life, and that's why you see these fucking retards working in Metro, for example, for like 30 plus years, and they know jack shit about their job. They know absolutely nothing. They just sit in a chair and just stare at a computer, and they play games, and they're on Facebook, and they goof off, and they are paid forever. And that's why Metro is such a fucking mess. But again, oh, we're getting off topic here. That's just one example I picked. Environmental racism. Wow, everything is so fucking racist, even the environment. Wait, is that what they're saying? Or they're saying that we use the environment in a racist way towards them? Food apartheid. Wow. You know, I can't believe I missed those grocery stores where only white people were allowed to get all the good food and then all everyone else was just allowed like the crappy food. And we weren't allowed to go in certain rows to get food. Housing discrimination. There is no neighborhood in this country that discriminates. There is no rule saying you have to be white to live in this neighborhood. There is no neighborhood saying you have to be black to live in this neighborhood. You have to meet certain income parameters in order to be approved for a loan to buy a house. That is not discrimination. If you don't make enough money to buy a house, you're not being discriminated against. I want $1 million fucking mansion on the beach. Oh, you won't give me that for free? Oh, you must be discriminating against me. You must be racist. Like, calm the fuck on. If you don't make enough money to buy the house you want, then work your fucking ass off. And yes, it is frustrating as fuck. No one said that, oh yeah, life is just really easy and buying a house is really easy. No big deal, right? No, it's fucking difficult. It takes you wonder why mostly old people and excluding celebrities, but like regular people who own very rich houses, they're usually older. Why? Because it takes that long to build up enough wealth to buy a house like that. Just because you aren't given $1 million mansion doesn't mean you're being discriminated against. Just because you don't make enough money to be approved for a loan to buy the house you want doesn't mean you're discriminated against. Like, redlining ended in the 60s and 70s. That's 40, that's 50 or 60 fucking years ago. Get the fuck over it. Focus on healing ongoing physical and mental trauma. Like, they are such fucking babies. They are the whiniest fucking babies, and they just want to be given everything and not work for it at all. So, again, they want like a slave like system, but not for them, where the white people just work and do everything and pay all the taxes, and just the black people don't have to work at all, and they get all of the benefits that we've been talking about through these videos. Reparation for the educational exploitation, erasure, and extraction of our communities in the form of mandated public school curriculums that basically say what we want to say. And this, I saw this recently. Actually, I think Sargon did another video. He's still talking about this stuff 4 years later. I think it was a couple weeks ago, he did a video on what Black Lives Matter wants to be taught in public school, specifically regarding this point. And it is the most batshit crazy stuff you can think of. It's exactly what you think racist Marxists would want to be taught. So not only do they want the system we've been describing throughout these videos, but then they want to brainwash future generations as to think that this is a good idea and to support it, so then their system can last. Legislation at the federal and state level that requires the United States to acknowledge the lasting impacts of slavery and execute a plan to address those impacts. We already did that when we freed your sorry asses. That was the legislation that addressed the impact of slavery. We said, okay, no more slavery. Do you want a new law that said, hey, we did this like, I don't know, 180 fucking plus years ago. There's no lasting impacts. Get the fuck over it. Your great grandparents didn't know anyone that was a slave. That's how long ago this has happened, and yet you are still fucking whining about it. And that is the end of the video. That's the end of the series. This went on for way longer than I thought, but that's okay because that's just more content for you guys. So that's it. That's in a nutshell. I'm going to link these 4 videos. I know they're already in the political playlist, but then I'll link them specifically in their own Black Lives Matter playlist. And you can just watch it from start to finish. Everything that they have been asking for. One thing by itself would be really stupid and really annoying, but again, doable. But they are asking for like 30 things that together would just tank the system. Notice how they have no idea, nowhere in this manifesto do they say how they're going to pay for this. Well, there's only 2 ways that government can pay for things: tax or build up debt. And these things are massively expensive programs. Not to mention unconstitutional and racist. Like, it's just across the board, you can look at these plans economically wise. If you just take the race out of it and just say, how are you going to pay for these things? They're all bad ideas. They did study like how much it would cost to do reparations, and it would be like trillions and trillions of dollars, just like massively bigger than our entire budget, which is already massively bloated as it is. And then comes the problem, who gets reparations? Would Kamala Harris, who owned slaves and wasn't even black, she was Jamaican and Indian, would she get reparations? Like, if you're half black, do you get half reparations? If you just moved here from Mali, for example, and you've never been a slave, your ancestors have never been a slave in the US because you just moved here, do you get reparations? Like, if you were white and your ancestors were slaves, do you get reparations? Like, there is no way to logically do this except just give black people money. They won't even bother with testing or asking questions about your family or your ancestors or any type of checking. Just, oh, you're black, you get money. These videos were to show why, there's so many people who ask, like, I can't believe you're against Black Lives Matter. Are you racist? Like, how can you say that people's lives don't matter, blah, blah, blah. And I can't believe people can't understand this. You can believe that Black Lives Matter just like everyone else's lives matter, while not agreeing with the organization that happens to have that same name. Of course I believe that Black Lives Matter, but I don't believe with anything that the organization Black Lives Matter believes in. So that when every corporation on the planet gives them a fuck ton of money and they have billboards and free advertisements and murals are on every single fucking street, you can see why people, knowing what the group believes in, will be like, that's kind of concerning. No, I don't agree with that. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Again, I think I said this in every single one of these 4 videos. I'm all up for talking with people about police reform. There is a massive need for police reform. I don't like it when people simplify the argument on my side of the argument and say, "Oh, there's no police brutality problem. Black people need to stop committing crime." No, that is ignoring thousands, if not millions, of cases of people doing absolutely nothing wrong. The police beat the crap out of them and kill them. That is a completely separate argument, a separate issue than all of these demands that they're giving. Like, I don't understand how people can't see the difference between these two things. You can be against police brutality and be against Black Lives Matter at the same time. They don't contradict each other. And so that's it. Their demands are all out in the open now. Their leaders are making batshit crazy demands from this manifesto all the time now. It's all out in the open. People are talking about it finally again. Before May, people weren't talking about this. It was a dead, almost 4-year gap. In pieces of this manifesto, I've been finding, but not the whole thing. So I just want to create a backup to this in case they're like, what do you mean they're asking for this? That sounds crazy. What are you talking about? It's right here. That's why I made this, because it's right here.